What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another Week 1 preview and prediction as we just continue to preview some of the biggest matchups you will see here in Week 1. We got another ranked versus ranked contest, the top 15 contest on tap for you today. And we got another good one. The Clemson Tigers and the Georgia Bulldogs are going to be playing in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's going to be one of the games that kicks off the full slate of games this week in college football. Can't wait for this matchup. Two great defenses going up against two offenses, one of which was really good last year, and the other of which looking to prove itself. We'll talk everything Tigers and Bulldogs in just a little bit, but before we do that, you guys know I got to say thank you for all the love and support you have continued to show my channel, not only over prediction season, but as we're getting into the college football season as well. And hey, if you'd like to continue to help show your support for my channel, just I don't know why my slide changed like that. You got a little sneak preview, but hey, do anything you can to help support the channel. You can like, you can comment, you can share. If you're as big of a college football nerd as I am, you got to hit the subscribe button and you got to ring the bell so you know whenever I upload. And if you would like to support my journey as being a sports media professional, you want to see some of the other field work I do, this, that, and the other, interested in more of me outside of YouTube, please go follow me on Twitter at TailgateNate29. I would really appreciate a follow, and I'll appreciate any support you guys are willing to give me, whether it's here on YouTube, over on Twitter, or anywhere else. I thank you guys so much. Do anything you can to help support me and this channel. But with all that out of the way, let's dive on into Week 1 predictions. And I'll tell you how they work after I take a little water break. Because as I always like to say, it's important to stay hydrated. Let's talk about how we do predictions here on the channel. We're going to kind of go through the keys to the game as if each team is on offense. And if that was confusing, which I recognize that I said that in a really confusing way, we're going to go through keys to the game when Clemson is on offense. So we'll look at the Tiger offense versus the Bulldog defense, and then we'll flip it. We'll take a look at the Bulldog offense versus the Tiger defense, and at the end of the video, well, we're simply just going to go through, give you my overall thoughts on this game, what I think is going to happen, and then I'll give you my final prediction. So without further ado, you got a little sneak peek of it earlier as my slide just went ahead and changed on me. Again, a top 15 matchup. Let's dive on into it. Clemson and Georgia. Here we go. The Clemson Tiger offense. Let's start with let's start with the Georgia Bulldog defense because it has a lot fewer question marks, right? We know the Georgia defense is going to be simply sensational. I could list players forever, and it's exactly what I'm about to do. Defensive line, Michael Williams, Nazir Stackhouse, Warren Brinson. Linebacker room, Chaz Chambliss, C.J. Allen, Smail Mondon, Ray Wilson, Jalen Walker. Defensive back room, Dalen Everett, Malachi Starks, Dan Jackson, Jonel Aguero, Julian Humphrey. Lots of transfers like Jake Pope, and a couple freshmen, KJ Bolden and Ellis Robinson. And I could just go on and on and on and on. This Georgia defense is going to be one of the best, if not the best, in the country this season. Now, albeit the rush defense was not there like it normally is with Georgia. And by normally, I mean, again, remember when they won back-to-back national titles? Yeah, that didn't happen too long ago, even though they missed out on the college football playoff last season. The rush defense just simply was not as good as it had been. However, this was still one of, if not the best third down defense in the entire country. Allowed under 5 yards per play. They weren't on the field that much. They were getting opponents off the field. They were doing their job. I mean, this Georgia defense I could rave about forever. They are simply sensational. So the big key when Clemson has the ball is how are you going to attack this Georgia defense? I mean, that sounds like a really simple question, but it is a very, very, very difficult one to answer because when you take a look at this Clemson offense, they have seen their struggles. There's going to be another year of Cade Klubnik this season, and how does he progress? How does he take that step forward? That's my big key to watch here. New offensive coordinator last year in Garrett Riley as well, with Cade Klubnik transitioning to play the quarterback role for Clemson. I think they're going to see a big jump here in year 2, and I do think that it's going to be a substantial increase in the Clemson offense is going to get more consistent and it's going to get better. And I think Cade Klubnik, again, contrary to some of the belief that's out there, I think Cade Klubnik is the right guy for the job. At his ceiling, he's going to be an exceptional quarterback here, and I know he had his moments last year where he didn't look good, had some moments where he looked simply sensational, but this Clemson offense overall, year 2 under Garrett Riley, year 2 with Cade Klubnik, I think they're going to see a nice big jump, and they got a lot of good playmakers around there. Again, they didn't really use the transfer portal, so it's a lot of returners Phil Moffa's back at running back, sensational player. Keith Adams will back him up, and in the wide receiver room, Antonio Williams, Tyler Brown, Adam Randall, a little bit of a younger wide receiver core, and you have a couple freshmen in Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore that'll probably get some pretty solid playing time this season. So yeah, you got a lot of young weapons in the wide receiver room. In the tight end room, though, Jake Briningstool is back to be a senior leader in the tight end room. The offensive line should still be really solid, but the Dogs defense, I think, simply just has too much power to overcome. That is especially true when you talk about the Georgia pass rush. 30 sacks last season, a ton of big boys on that defensive front. That, again, this is the Clemson offensive line that, even though they have the talent, they really struggled last year. They allowed 29 sacks. They turned the ball over 22 times. The offensive line was a big part of, hey, why Cade Klubnik threw so many picks, why there were so many fumbles for Clemson last year, why there were so many turnovers in general. It is because the offensive line did not hold up its end of the bargain. And yes, I know Cade Klubnik did make some bad decisions. There were some other things that led into the turnover role. But really what happens is when the offensive line isn't good, it rushes the quarterback, the run game can't get going, and you start making mistakes. Clemson just can't afford that at all in this game. Georgia is too good defensively, and I just think the Dogs have too much power to overcome. However, Clemson can get a little bit of a leg up if they can win the third down battle. You heard me mention earlier, Georgia, one of the best third down defenses in the country last season. Okay, if Clemson can win the battle on third downs when they have the ball and they can continue to keep the Georgia defense on the field and they can tire them out, which is going to be a hard ask to tire out the Bulldogs defense because, again, they are just really, really good. They're loaded with talent. Again, I could sit here and rave about them all day. I think I've already said that before. But this is a Clemson offense that if they want to get a leg up on the Georgia defense, Klubnik has to take a big step. The offensive line has to take a big step. They have the potential to match the power of Georgia, maybe more so defensively than offensively, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But you have to hold your own against this Georgia defensive front. And that's going to be a lot harder than, again, a lot easier said than done. I talked about matching the power. So it's that second little point there that I do want to touch on first. It's just a nice little transition as now we talk about the UGA offense on the field. Georgia just has a lot of power up front, man. I mean, they got some of the best defensive linemen in the country. Ernest Green, Dylan Fairchild, Jared Wilson, Tate Ratledge, Xavier Truss. That's their starting line this year. That's basically an NFL offensive line that Carson Beck gets to play behind. He was simply sensational last year, and I think it's going to have another massive season as the quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs. Carson Beck's one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country, and he's going to show it this year as well, just as he did last season. Now, they do not have Ra Thomas as a wide receiver anymore. I do believe he's been suspended, if not even kicked off the team. But Dylan Bell, Arian Smith, Dominic Lovett, a couple transfers such as Colby Young and London Humphreys to pair with Anthony Evans. It's still going to be a simply sensational wide receiver room. I'm loving that phrase in this video, I guess. Trevor Etienne is transferring over from Florida, so you get a really good running back there. And Georgia's offense is just going to be as efficient as ever. And that's my first point right there. Beck and company will be as, if not even more efficient than they were last season. They averaged 7.3 yards per play. How can you get much more efficient than that? Well, I'm afraid that we're about to find out because I think Georgia's offense is going to be really, really good this year. But Clemson's defense, even though it necessarily, to some people, isn't where it was when Clemson was still competing for national championships, and that's not to say that Clemson can't. It's just that they haven't been in the big top echelon of college football as of late. Clemson still's got a lot of good talent defensively, and we'll go through some of those names right now. They got back home to the quarterback 32 times last year. Their third down conversion percentage was insanely good, 23.1%. I'm actually going to fact check that because I have a feeling that might be wrong. Yeah, see, there you go. My instincts did not let me down. Switch the 2 and the 3, so not 23%, but 32% on third downs, which, again, still a really, really good mark. And again, I'll just go through this Clemson defense because, again, I said that they had some good playmakers. I'm going to prove it to you by telling you who they are. On the defensive front, Peter Woods, Peyton Page, TJ Parker. They're going to be really good defensive linemen for the Tigers this year. Carter Barrett and Wade Woodaz, as well as guys like D. Creighton and Kobe McLeod will be leading that linebacker room. Jamal Anderson will be there as well. And then the secondary, R.J. Mickens, Tyler Venables, Khalil Barnes. They're going to be some really good defensive backs this season. Again, they got home to the quarterback. They forced a ton of turnovers. And again, they didn't spend much time on the field last year either. They didn't even allow 5 yards per play. but how do they match the efficiency of Georgia and Carson Beck? They drive the ball down the field, and it just seems like no matter how good the opposing defense is, it seems like they drive down the field really, really easily. I mean, this Georgia offense is really, really good. And again, we all know Georgia more so known for their defense than their offense, but their offense was simply sensational last year. You see it on screen right now. They were fantastic. I talked about it a little bit earlier, and I apologize. I got away from it, got a little sidetracked. But the Tigers can match the Dogs' power. But will they? Again, this is an NFL offensive line for the Georgia Bulldogs. Is Clemson going to be able to match that power? Are they going to be able to get that pass rush home? Are they going to be able to get pressure to Carson Beck? Can they slow Trevor Etienne down? Okay, well, even if that's the case, what are you going to do about this Georgia wide receiver room? Are you going to be able to slow them down? Are you going to be able to get pressure with your defensive backs? Are you going to be able to press these wide receivers as effectively as you'd like them to? I think there are a couple of those things that can go well for Clemson because, look, the Clemson defense, I personally believe, will still be among the nation's best this season, at least in terms of yards per game, yards per play. They got a ton of defensive talent and a really good defensive philosophy that Dabo Swinney has etched into this program for years. But Georgia's offense is simply going to be too efficient, and I think their defense is too good as well. Leads into my prediction. Again, a Saturday game, a noon game on ABC. You can also watch it on ESPN Plus if you're a subscriber. Georgia's the heavy favorite in this one, and I mean, it's hard to argue with it. Georgia's offense is simply too efficient. Carson Beck is going to have a phenomenal year. The wide receiver room is still extremely talented. I mean, extremely talented. Trevor Etienne is going to be that running back, an NFL offensive front on top of, do you want me to go list off those names again? If you want to listen to me do that, go back and watch that part of the video. Georgia's got stud after stud after stud defensively, and I think Clemson makes some improvements this year, but they're going to be no match for the Georgia Bulldogs. They may need a tune-up or two before a game like this, it being the first game of the year. I just think Georgia's too good. They're too dominant. The line of scrimmage play is too physical, and they're going to handle the Clemson Tigers. 35-17 is the way I got it. But I want to hear your thoughts on this game as well. So let me know everything that you guys are thinking about this game in the comment section below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder, and we'll get some more preview predictions out for you tomorrow. Goodbye.